Hi, this is Kelly Hawkins with the Wake Up with Kelly Hawkins. It's September 12th, 2012. Thank you for listening. No, don't show me. Um, I'm actually recording this locally because I keep trying to do the live podcast thing on Spreaker, and it's not working. I keep losing the internet connection. So instead of fiddling with that anymore, I'm going to do this last fourth time, exasperated. Alright, but like I said the previous two times, everything does happen for a reason. So, I'm sorry I'm showing you my ceiling. It's what I look at as I go to sleep. Actually, no, I sleep on my side. So I look at the wall, but I'm not going to show you my wall. My room's kind of messy, and I'm even messier. I'm not wearing any makeup. So this is the way my show is going to look like tonight. And if you don't like it, deal with it. Alright, so I wanted to basically go over what I did on 9/11 on the long weekend in New York City. I had an awesome time. I had a really great time. I'm sorry I'm exasperated, but I have a chapter of school work to read tonight. I don't even have time to do the paper for it tomorrow, the written part. I'm going to have to go and do that in between work and class tomorrow night. But it'll work out. I'll get it done. It won't be the 10-hour long projects that I usually turn in and get A's for, but it'll have a few hours into it, so it'll be good enough. Um, so basically Friday night I got to New York City around 8, and I was all checked in and stuff in my hotel 9, 10 o'clock, somewhere around then. And I was like, alright, I'm in New York. This is the night before all the major actions and stuff, and before I meet up with anybody, so I'm gonna get drunk. So I found a bar on Google that was pretty close to the hostel, and I didn't change or wash up, change my makeup or nothing. I was like sweaty, it was hot, I was gross, and I went to the bar. I'm surprised people talk to me at all, but there was this one gay couple that talked to me, and they were giving me some things to do when I was in New York. They suggested that I go on this, like, there's this old rail train station, like tracks that had been changed into a park, and they were telling me it was really awesome and it was a free thing to do and I should do that. And I also suggested the to go see Phantom of the Opera on Broadway. They're like, oh, it's beautiful, the songs are beautiful, and if I had the time and money, I would have gone seen that, but I didn't. Actually, I think I would have gone seen Raven as in Sister Act. Raven-Symoné. I'm like a huge fan of hers. And then Avito is showing too. So there's a lot of good things that I wanted to see on Broadway, but Broadway's really, really expensive, and I didn't have any time. So, I had too many drinks. I bought myself two drinks, and they were only like $6 a piece. I thought that'd be a lot more expensive. And then the bartender bought me one, which was cool. And those were really the only people I talked to that night. So I was just sitting at the bar. I wasn't trying to, meet guys or anything. I don't meet guys at bars. I was just basically staying by myself. And that's kind of what I did. I basically stayed by myself. And got drunk. Was too drunk. Then I went back to the hostel. Everyone was asleep. They didn't turn the air conditioner on. They didn't plug it in. And I didn't want to rifle because, like, they had their one of the people at least had their luggage propped up in that corner, and they were covering the electrical outlet, so I couldn't plug it in. So I had a pretty miserable night. I was really hot and sweaty and gross, and but I was thinking that, like, maybe I was sweating out the toxins while I was there. I mean, Because you sweat out toxins, so I was thinking, well, maybe I'll be a little bit more detoxed. I was pretty miserable Saturday morning during the street action. Well, I got there really early because I woke up really early, and rather than go to sleep again and oversleep, I was just like, oh, screw it, I'm gonna go out. And so I got dressed. I didn't even put my makeup on, and I went and I had breakfast, and then I took a subway right down to Ground Zero and put my makeup on. Then it started to rain, and so I was standing under the trees while it was raining. And somebody I recognized from that I wasn't Facebook friends with, but somebody I recognized from other people's Facebooks. I saw him, so I started talking to him and got to meet him, which was really, really cool. And then other people started showing up, and I got to meet some more people. And handed out flyers. I tried to not get too sunburned. The amount of people on Saturday was disappointing. I hate to say it, but it was almost like a regular Saturday street action. I mean, people that lived in New York, they're telling me that it had more people. So I guess the number of people have dwindled recently. But yeah, I don't know how many people, but I would have liked to have seen a lot more. Um, and then we went as a group to Walker Street and saw a film. Let me look up the name of the film. It was Unfair Dealing. And that was a good film. And then I went back to the hostel, had a good night's sleep, a really good night's sleep that night. And then, let's see. Then I went to Walker Street and saw a bunch of speakers. There were some really good ones. Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaefer wasn't there, and he never is at any of these things where he's at least not the ones I've been to. But there were some really good speakers. It was awesome. And then they showed a film. Top Priority: The Terror Within, which was amazing. I recommend anyone see it. Everyone see it. It was about this lady. She was a TSA agent on the border of Mexico, and some people were let in without the proper documentation, and she was really upset about it. So she was notifying people, and instead of the people who let the aliens in, she's the one that got in trouble. And then, all these horrible things started happening to her. A helicopter landed on her property, and it was a real thriller. So upsetting that it actually happened to somebody. If it was a Hollywood movie that wasn't a documentary, it would have been good. Or if it was a fake documentary, it would have been good. But the fact that it was real was very upsetting. But I love the way they did it. It was the 70s style, and it was just it was awesome. It was artistic, and it's been submitted for an Oscar, and hopefully it'll be nominated. If it's nominated, a lot of people will see it, so that would be good. Um, okay, then let's see. What else? Let me go back to that website. Refresh my memory. Okay, then Monday, I skipped the daytime street actions because they had street actions at the CFR, which I would gladly protest, the Anti-Defamation League offices, which I would gladly protest because for some reason We Are Change is on their watch list, which is ridiculous. The United Nations also deserving of protest, and the Israeli embassy. And while they are deserving of of protest. I didn't want to be thought. I didn't want to protest them just because people get confused. They think you're anti-Semitic if you don't like the Israeli government, which is ridiculous. You know, you can protest Chinese government. People don't think you hate Chinese people. They realize it for what it is, that you don't like the government and how they treat their people, and also how they treat other peoples. But I didn't want to be standing in front of the Israeli embassy and holding a sign and somebody changing the words on the sign with Photoshop or whatever. I don't know. So I didn't want to go there. So I skipped that one, but I went to the back to Walker Street, and they had a preview of a film. It wasn't completely finished, but it was pretty cool. It was speeches from like some political actions, and there's some really good moving speeches and a poem that was just beautiful, beautiful poem from the guy who was the New Jersey poet laureate, and he lost that position because of the poem that he wrote for 9/11. Um, yeah. So once that gets edited and everything, it'll be pretty cool. But it was basically, it wasn't done. And I had to leave actually before it was over because the street action at Times Square was starting. So I went to Times Square and handed out flyers, and the reception there was pretty good. A lot of people were like, "Yeah, we agree with you." A lot of people agree with us there, and they talked about the Michael Moore. A lot of people were talking to me about the Michael Moore movie, Fahrenheit 9/11. And I'm like, yeah, but have you seen Loose Change? There are all these other movies. And it's like hard to explain the difference between what we believe and what is in Fahrenheit 9/11. Because in Fahrenheit 9/11, he was saying that basically the Bush government looked the other way and let it happen, or at least didn't do enough to stop it, you know? And what I believe is that 9/11 was an inside job. The people in the Bush administration knew about it. I'm not saying that George Bush did. I don't have enough evidence to say that. But I do think that there are people in the administration that did anyways. Um, and definitely people who worked for the government at the time. So, um, I, I'm getting really tired and I still have a chapter to read. And it's getting close to my bedtime. Um, okay, so after that street action, we went back to Walker Street and saw a movie. I didn't see the whole movie, but it was. Oh, A Noble Lie, Oklahoma City. Yeah, that was. No. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was. A Noble Lie, Oklahoma City. I have to watch the beginning of that. That was really good. Of course, I remember Oklahoma City, watching it on the news. I'll tell you what I remember that. I remember my son was a kid. I was living at my dad's house in Maryland. He was still living there at the time. It was before he moved down to Virginia. So, he was watching it in the news in the living room, and he was just crying. Tears were running down his face. And I remembered them saying that they were looking for other bombs. That was like a real big part of it. And that they, you know, and that was a horrible day. But I remember sitting there watching it and them talking on the news about them looking for other bombs or finding other bombs. And Alright. Okay, so. And then Tuesday, the street action was at. Also, like, the best part of everything was just seeing people I haven't seen in a while and meeting new people, and that was just like awesome. Um, and Tuesday was the best day. Like, first in the morning, I went right down to the PATH station, and except for the stronger police presence, it looked like just a regular work day. People didn't even seem to care that it was 9/11, the anniversary of 9/11. They were just going to work. And then there was like a lot of police, and this was during rush hour. And family members. I saw a few family members with pictures of people that they lost, people that they loved. My cat's meowing. And then I went back up to St. Paul's, and we were having a protest there. It was a silent vigil. So I got a sign. Not silent like we can't talk, but silent like there's no like loudspeakers or anything like that until afternoon. So I was standing there and with my sign. It was rememberbuilding7.org. And I got interviewed. I got interviewed for Vietnamese on television, and I don't think they liked what I had to say. I don't think they understood that it was an 9/11 truth protest, because I couldn't really make out the questions they were asking, like, but I figured I was on TV. So, so I just like, there were like some keywords like terrorist, right? And so I just like, okay, terrorists. What do I talk about terrorists? I was like, that they're not. I said that the United States government can't stop any terrorists because anyone can take a truck and just take it in front of a building and bomb it. There's nothing to stop it, and there can never be anything to stop it. There's there's always going to be a way for terrorists to commit their crimes, right? I, and so I said that America is becoming a police state with TSA inspecting us before we get on planes, and TSA in the subways, and it's just more and more security, but we're not any safer. And they did not look pleased with that interview. And they laughed. Somebody else interviewed me after taking my picture, and I kind of talked gibberish. She's like, "What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say by being here?" And I was like, "Well, it's like the Wizard of Oz. You look behind the curtain, and the wizard isn't as big as he appears." And she was like, "Okay." I'm not very good with interviews. All right. And then I wish my cat would get off my computer. And so after that, oh, and then like where we were, it was like this media area where they had like national media with their cameras set up and like newscasters in front of the Freedom Towers, which is what they're calling them now, right? The ones that they're rebuilding. Because we have the freedom to build huge buildings on top of mass grave sites or a mass murder was committed. And we're showing our freedom by just rebuilding over top of that. Anyways, well, it's good real estate. You can't screw that up, right? Oh, wow. Okay, I'm going on a tangent that I didn't mean to. So I had my sign, rememberbuilding7.org, and a girl did this earlier, and I'm like, I want to do that. So I took my sign And I went behind the newscasters while they were broadcasting. I'm hoping it was live. And I held my sign, and I just stood there. And like the first time I walked past, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm like covering my face." So I just held it, and behind the broadcasters as they were talking about whatever I couldn't hear what they were saying. I hope they weren't saying like horrible things about millions of people dying because or the thousands that we lost that day. Because you couldn't hear from behind, you know. And that was pretty cool though. It was a rush. It was definitely a rush. Oh, kitty! Why does he have to get between me and my computer? Probably muffling my sound. Um, so my new saying today, or my saying for today is, the only good bomb is a photo bomb. Yeah. I've been telling myself that all day. I was so pleased with myself though. It was the best thing. And then we marched down. Oh, Adam Kokesh was giving a speech, and I got to hear part of it. And then we marched down to the pass station, and handed out flyers there. Well, I didn't really do much of that. I don't know. Other people were handing out the flyers. I was basically just. I didn't even have a sign. I was like, should I have a sign? I wasn't sure. I was hoping people knew I was a truther, but I don't know that for sure. I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't, but I was tired and I wanted to stay out of the sun. It was a long weekend for me, and basically I spent the time trying to stay out of the sun, but also being there at the protest. Um, and actually, a good number of people turned out, which makes me happy. Um, there were police there. There were army with machine guns walking around. The police were there with those plastic the zip cuffs. That was very scary because those handcuffs were there for us. Those handcuffs were there for me. Maybe not me personally, but me in the collective me, for us truthers. And I was like sitting in the shade, and this one cop, he's like, "Get up, you have to move. You have to walk around, you can't sit there." And like, walked around, I moved to a different place, and I sat down. I was out of the sun. And then an hour later, I went back to where I was sitting, and it was the best shady spot. And plus, it was kind of close to one of my friends, which was cool too. Then, unfortunately, I had to fly home. I had to leave a little bit earlier than I would have liked to. I would have liked to stay for an extra night. I really would have, but it was impossible. I have to be here tonight, right, to do this podcast and I already did one thing of homework, and I have this other chapter to read. I have to go to work tomorrow, and then just finish up my homework, and then have my class, and then really finish up my homework. So I'm gonna try to do it all before class, and then after I get home, polish it up, and then submit it. And yeah, I wish I was there another night, but I just couldn't have. Really, spending 45 minutes or an hour on this podcast that shouldn't have taken an hour. It's kind of upsetting, but I still have enough time to read my chapter. It is about bedtime though, so I should probably get to sleep. Sorry if I sound a little cranky, but I'm mad that I had to redo this podcast so many times. But it's important to me because even though I know I have to do schoolwork, and I really do, In 20 years, I'm not going to be reading schoolwork. I'm not going to be rereading my schoolwork, but in 20 years, good chance I'm going to be re-listening to my podcast and be like, oh, that's what I was doing when I was at this stage of my life, you know? So, well, thank you for listening. I appreciate it. And I'm going to upload this and read that chapter in my book. And I think I covered everything. My favorite part was meeting everybody, meeting with other truthers was my favorite part. But the happiest part was when I was photobombing national media live. That was so cool. Oh my gosh. And then I said photobombing in front of a cop and he got all because I said the B word, you know. Can't say bomb, especially on 9/11. And I was like, oh no, I shouldn't have said that word, you know. He probably wasn't familiar. He doesn't spend as much time on Urban Dictionary as I do. And okay, I guess I'll go and take care of this stuff. I guess that's everything. I'm trying to think. I know there's stuff that I missed. But I'm supposed to be on somebody else's podcast. He's going to be interviewing me, so hopefully I'll be alright. We'll see. I'm the worst at interviewing. The worst. It's like having a conversation only 10 times more awkward. I'm sorry. I'm so shy. Okay. Alright. I'm going to go. Talk to you later. Have a nice night. Hopefully I'll have time to podcast again in a few days and it won't keep disconnecting. Bye. Wake up.